This is a Grit Talk. My name is Mark Vergnano, and I'm here to answer 7 questions. What have you not done yet that you'd like to be part of your story or included in your eulogy? Well, I grew up in the 60s. I grew up during the time of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and the Watts riots in Los Angeles. So I saw racial injustice very early in my life. Fast forward 60 years, we still have racial injustice. So I want to be part of a solution. Obviously, I'm not going to solve that, but I want to be part of a solution. Within Chemours, the company I'm part of, we started doing something with the city of Wilmington a few years ago, something called the Future of Chemistry Scholarships, where we gave scholarships to high school seniors who wanted to pursue a STEM education at historic black colleges or universities. And we made a difference in a few people's lives. And this year, we expanded that to the entire chemical industry, where we now have our partners, the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, the American Chemistry Council, as well as HBCU Week. And now we're going to have 150 scholarships for kids going into STEM education, who also will be going to historic black colleges and universities in a program we call FOSSI. So that's not necessarily going to change racial injustice, but at least it's our part to try to make it a better world for people. So that is something that I'd like to be part of my legacy, if not part of my eulogy. How has failure, or apparent failure, set you up for later success? And do I have a favorite failure? I think of failures and mistakes as something every one of us make. Let's just be honest with each other. We all make mistakes and we all have failures. But the key is, what do you do about it? How do you fix that mistake, or how do you fix that failure? I don't want to look back 20, 30 years ago and say, oh my gosh, look at that failure. I want to do something about it as fast as I can. So I can't tell you this is my favorite failure, but I can tell you that this is one that's probably the most impactful failure that I've had. And it happened early in my career when I was with DuPont. I was in the sales and marketing role. I traveled all the time, constantly, even on weekends doing trade shows. And during that time, even if I was in the office, I was working till 8 or 9 at night. I was married with 2 young daughters. And one day my wife came up to me and said, this is not working. You're not being part of their lives. You're not being a partner with me in the parenting side. We've got to do something different. It's just not working. And so we sat down and we came up with a plan. And the plan was that I would leave the office every day at 5 o'clock. I'd come home, I'd have dinner with the family. I'd take the girls up, give them their bath, read them the story, get them to bed. And then if I needed to go back and get on the computer and do some work, I could do it then. And I could say that moment was probably life-changing for me. I've had 30 years of being connected to my kids, 30 years of having a family life that maybe I wouldn't have had if I didn't have that interaction and that failure. But it wasn't about the failure, it was about what you do about it. And that's the key in my mind. In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life? So I'm going to have to go back a little bit longer, and I'll tell you how that has affected the last 5 years. About 7 years ago, I made the decision that I would take these businesses out of DuPont and create Chemours, which was a new company at the time. And we wanted to be a very different kind of chemistry company. And I knew at that time that the only person that could really create a culture is the CEO. And so it was very important for me to be able to find a way to create a culture that I wanted to be part of. I wanted to be part of a culture where everyone worked together. Everyone felt like owners of the company. Everyone had their voice not only heard, but their voice meant something because we do something with that voice. And so as I look back on the last 5 years of Chemours, I could say that culture that I'm very proud of has taken hold. That has made a huge change in my life as I look back. From a standpoint of, we took 10,000 people over from DuPont. 2/3 of those people lined right up with that culture and drove it. And a third decided that either the culture didn't fit them or they didn't fit the culture. And from that standpoint, we parted our ways. But the 2/3 that are still there and the new folks who have joined us really have made a difference. So to me, that's the belief that's changed me, which is culture makes a difference. Culture could be led by a CEO, but culture only happens when everyone buys into it. What activities make you lose track of time? I love team sports. I absolutely love team sports. And when I was a kid, I grew up in Connecticut, so a little bit of cold weather. And I would walk home from school, and halfway between our house and school was a pond. And so in the winter, my friends and I would put our skates and our hockey sticks and our hockey gloves in a little warming hut that was there. We'd pick them up, and we'd play hockey till it was dark. And I would do the same in the warm seasons, would pick up basketball. Until it got dark, I would be out there with my friends playing. And it wasn't just being with your friends, it was playing a team sport with your friends, and I could just constantly lose track of time. I loved to do that all the way through college, and obviously as you grow older, a little harder to play team sports, but it's a love that I have, and absolutely, completely lose time when I do it. What book do you most often give or recommend, and how has that book influenced you? It was a book I read probably now almost 30 years ago, and it's called Synchronicity. A very simple book, but it has a very simple lesson. And the idea of synchronicity is things are happening around us all the time. There's opportunities that are sitting around you constantly. But because we all have blinders on, or because we're not paying attention, or because we're not being present at the moment, we miss them. And the whole purpose of this book, or the whole idea behind it, is be aware of where you are right now. Be open to what's around you. Be present when you're with people, and things will come to you that you wouldn't have noticed before. And I found it to be very, very true. I'm one of these guys that when you get on an airplane, I used to just sort of block everything out. I was in my little cocoon. Please don't talk to me. I'm in my cocoon. But after I read that book, I realized I might miss out on something. And so I've been more open, whether I'm in an airplane, haven't been one for a while, whether I'm in an airplane, whether I'm anywhere. I try to be open to what's around me, and opportunities have popped themselves up. Learnings have popped themselves up. So it's a very simple book, and a book that I give to many of my friends whenever I have the chance. What have you purchased or been given in the last year valued under $200 that has most positively impacted your life? I love to go to the gym. Now, looking at my body, you might not think that, but I love to go to the gym. And obviously, during the pandemic, that's been harder to do. So a friend of mine gave me a great idea, and that was, why don't you try yoga at home? So I bought a yoga mat for $35. It has changed my life. So with a yoga mat, and go on YouTube with whoever you want to use as your instructor. I'm partial to Adrian, but anyone who you'd like to pick. And all of a sudden, you can have not only a great workout, but you gain flexibility, and I gain some mental centeredness as well. So I'm Zen now, not always, but it has been helpful. And for me, that yoga mat was one of the best purchases I've ever made. If you could broadcast a message to everyone in the world, knowing it would be received and remembered, what would it be? To me, it's very simple, and it's really two words: be kind. If you think about what we're dealing with today, whether it's the pandemic, or whether it's social injustice, or whether it's the political turmoil that our country has gone through over the past few months, so many people are dealing with so many things. And so what I would ask everyone to do is just be kind. And from that standpoint, sometimes people think kindness and strength or kindness and toughness don't go together. I could promise you they do. You could be a tough business person, or you could be strong at what you do, and you still can be kind. Don't make them mutually exclusive. They actually work together. So my word here is be kind. Be kind to each other. Be kind to people. Be kind to the environment. Be kind to your community. It's a time for us to be kind.